Well, 25 years ago, a 16-year-old drug dealer from Brooklyn was part of a gang trying to rob an undercover police officer of thousands of dollars he intended to use to buy cocaine. Robert Bam Bam Lawrence was physically mature beyond his years back then. He fired a deadly shot from a .357 revolver into Syracuse officer Wally Howard. He was convicted and sentenced to life in prison without parole. In our exclusive interview from inside Auburn Correctional, Lawrence answers the question, what was his reaction when his lawyer called and told him he might have a chance at parole one day?
Well, first I have to tell you, I read the case first. In order to understand how I felt, you have to read the case because it's not automatic that my time would have been cut short or taken away. There's criteria and structure that you have to meet in order to have time taken away. And for the most part, I felt good, only because the criteria that was set forth. It could have been easy for me to come to prison and stay the person who I was, but without even knowing that there would be, so to speak, light at the end of the tunnel, I still chose to do what was right.
While family and former colleagues marked 25 years since the death of Officer Howard, Robert Lawrence marked 5 more years until he's eligible for parole. A federal judge gave him that chance after a Supreme Court decision changed the law for criminals his age.
There were a lot of police officers at your hearing in the federal court resentencing that you should never get out. What do you think of someone who kills a police officer? Should they be allowed out of prison?
Well, I think under my circumstances, yes, they should be let out of prison. If they was a kid, they didn't have no idea who this person was, and whatever the society norm is. I understand that it was a person who's well respected and puts their life on the line all the time that was murdered. I get that, and I'm extremely remorseful for that. But when you look at the circumstances, it's not like the average person who would walk up to some individual in a uniform and have no regard for law and kill somebody. I spent the better half of my life in prison, and if I could somehow rewind this whole situation and bring back Mr. Howard, there's no doubt that I would. No doubt in my mind that I would do that. That's the sacrifice I would make. And to all the officers, again, I apologize. Given the opportunity, I just want to prove that it would be okay if I was outside of these walls.
What do you think that kid would have turned into if he didn't shoot a police officer that day? What direction it was likely to have gone? I guess 2 questions. Where do you think you would have ended up, and how do you hope you would have ended up?
I want to answer the second one first. I hope I would have ended up as the person I am now. The first part of that question, I don't know, because I think things happen for a reason. And maybe I needed this situation to help me grow as a person. Because if this wouldn't have happened, maybe I would have did something else or gotten into some other type of trouble. But I definitely would hope that I would have turned into the person I am today with a goodwill, a hard drive, and a humbled individual.
And what about that nickname, Bam Bam, given by his mother when Robert was a young boy?
That's a name that I'm trying very hard to get rid of. I don't like being associated with that name.
Why is that?
Because it brings back bad memories. It reminds me of a time when I was somebody that was totally different as a child, that wasn't able to have the proper surroundings proper upbringing, and it's, you know, I don't associate myself with the things I was doing as a kid named Bam Bam.
A kid who shot and killed a decorated officer. Now a man who says he wants to make it right. Now, just before the 30th anniversary of the shooting of Officer Howard in 5 years, Robert Lawrence will be eligible for parole. It would be highly unusual to win release on a first hearing, if at all. Lawrence says if he does get out, he might decide to one day live in Syracuse. New at 11 tonight, we got to see